it is cheaper to bring a product from China to Barranquilla than from Barranquilla to Bogota.
No.
Yeah. It's hard to get American investors because they can't, legally speaking, it's very hard for them to put money in cannabis because they would be, doing narcotráfico. So because of the fact that we're so close, the government visits us constantly. So we're basically very prepared. What global market? I can export to the UK, Portugal, Germany, Australia, Israel, and that's it.
The Grow World community is home to over 23 countries of the biggest commercial cannabis growers in the game. Growers join our community to trial new solutions in their facilities, such as lighting, nutrients, media, and more. So if you own, operate, or work at a commercial cultivation facility anywhere in the world, join the movement for free at growworld.com. We have hundreds of products and services you can trial today. Take your grow to new heights and try before you buy. Here's a quick list of some of our most popular trial campaigns that made this tour possible. I want to give a special shout out to the Grow World Colombia tour title sponsor, Valoya. This is one of the world's oldest LED horticultural manufacturers, a true OG in the lighting space. They've actually been testing their lights since 2007. And in 2009, Valoya was born to handle their horticultural division. They develop and patent spectrums specifically for the cannabis plant. Their specific spectrum actually helps boost second metabolites, which increases THC percentage. So an added benefit as well, they help those plants become more compact under this spectrum. So for all those multi-tier projects out there, take a look at Valoya. Really helps you hit that extra yield in limited space. Valoya, one of the world's oldest LED horticultural manufacturers, and you can trial their lights today on growworld.com. Take your automation and controls to the next level with Growlink. They are an automation software company that is hardware agnostic, built around Copilot, which is their AI that puts crop steering on autopilot. When choosing between Coco and rockwool, let's take a look at some of the facts. Coco can sustain microbial life, whereas rockwool cannot as an inert medium. Also, channeling will not occur in Coco due to its coarse composition. So check out Kaya Coco Coir today. We are what we eat, and that lends itself to our plants as well. Check out United Nutrients, the nutrient company that partners with blenders that have been in the industry for 40 plus years. You can sign up to trial all of these solutions right now at growworld.com. What are you waiting for? Check the description below with direct links to each campaign. And if you're qualified, you might even be able to sample the menu from this member's farm as well.
And lived in the States. And I started working in the music industry. I was my
Really?
previous life was in the music
Really?
industry.
Okay. We got
I-
some music guys here as well.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I did PR and management mostly.
Okay.
I launched two artists, Colombian artists they were pretty big in their days.
What were their names?
Nati Botero and Fanny Lou.
Okay.
And Fanny Lou actually transcended to the U.S.
Oh, cool.
But not in like Anglo, like Latin U.S. You know what I mean? And Nati, she was pretty big here in Latin America, and that's it. And then I moved to London,
Okay.
and I was a booking agent and manager for DJs.
Oh wow, that's literally what he does. That's his
We
real.
work with mostly EDM artists. uh,
That's literally what he does. All right, tell me some of these artists.
Benny Benassi, Alex
Wow.
Gaudino, Congo Rock, Mac J.
Wow.
Um, we did a couple of Brazilian acts, Trop Killers and Zombie Kids.
Okay.
Um,
I booked Benny Benassi before and Mac J.
yeah.
Yeah, I know Trop Killers too.
Okay, that was
Best friends.
yeah. We were with the company that I used to work was Exit
Okay,
in London.
cool. I'm familiar.
Okay, so yeah, probably then you.
That's super cool.
Yeah, right. Small world.
Super cool. So when did you exit?
2012.
Okay.
Benny was opening a concert for Madonna because he had produced MDMA, MDNA. Sorry. Yeah.
MDMA is cool too.
Yeah, it's probably. Well, we love Molly. But no, but yeah, and so he opened the tour for her,
Okay.
and I went to Abu Dhabi for the concerts,
Nice.
and I actually met Madonna, and it was like, I grew up in, I'm an '80s '90s kid, so
Okay.
Madonna was a big thing for me. So
Yeah.
when I met her, I was like, damn, I think I did it. Yeah, yeah, I'm over this.
Yeah.
It was kind of
That
like
was kind of the peak.
my peak. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's some people like I noticed like some people in the music industry like you could pick big time, but it's still a creative industry, so it's not a lot of people that make it huge.
Mm,
That's how I see it.
yeah.
So on that note, like when I returned, I remember I returned home to London. I was living in London back then, and literally the day after, I read an article in the New York Times about the Barcelona social clubs, cannabis
Oh, yeah.
clubs. I have family in Barcelona,
Okay.
so we went to. I went to Barcelona to kind of like research and I've always been a cannabis user,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was like, I want to explore this. You never know, and obviously I had the idea like, oh yeah, it would be cool to open a club and chill and like very Tony Montana kind of thing. uh, but then like when I got there, I met my brother. Told me like I have this guy that my kids go to school with. His kids, he's Israeli. Why don't you meet him? He has a club. So I met him. His name is Tony, and he told me like, why don't you come work with me? And if you're interested in this, and see what's happening. Literally, I went back to London. I gave my 2-week notice, packed everything, and it was like kind of a sign.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wow, I can't believe that I was already thinking about like I reached my pinnacle in the music industry.
Yeah.
And I moved to Barcelona.
Universe connecting the dots.
Yeah, exactly. And once I moved to Barcelona, I started working in this club. Learning about because I've always been a user, but never like
On the business side of it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I learned about extraction. I learned about dosification, formulation, stuff like that. For that, obviously, great cultivation techniques, And the good thing is Spain, ironically enough, it's the European country that is more behind in cannabis laws.
Really.
Yeah, but it's literally where all the research and all the I know it's hilarious.
Confusing.
It's very
Right.
confusing.
Spannabis just happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And a pretty, popular grower in the States, an extractor. I believe his wife was arrested for just like smoking a joint in public or something. I know it's confusing, right?
It's
like
very confusing.
largest cannabis conference in the world. But
Clubs,
you can't
clubs in
culture,
Barcelona and Madrid. The cannabis culture is huge,
can't
kind of
smoke
California
a
style.
joint on the curb.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild. I mean, there is something to say though about respecting a culture and like, don't be smoking inside the airport and
Yeah.
things like that. But at what point? It's kind of a gray area.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's all about like the evolution of it.
That's right.
One of the things about this industry that is pretty challenging, I would say, is that nobody realizes what we've especially us that we hold the machete. I say because we're like literally opening
Yeah.
the jungle for everybody else to follow us.
Emerging markets.
And yeah, exactly. we not only have to fight, that part of being an emerging market, but there's this whole psychological part, like demonization of the plants,
Yeah.
these misconceptions about like cannabis as drugs,
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
so
it's a result of, I would say, the propaganda that has been waged against this plant.
yeah, Nixon
It's
stuff.
still, yeah, right? Like it's still here.
Exactly.
There's side effects of it and kind of indirect. And I think it's almost a cultural thing. I mean, we've been in Bogota for a couple days, and younger generations, I mean, we're seeing people smoke everywhere.
Oh no, and here in the city, there's tolerance
Yeah.
zones where you can just chill and smoke outside.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they're getting there, and it's funny because now that you brought up in Colombia, Colombia has we've never been like huge consumers, but it's a pretty big market. I mean, you have to understand that Colombia is the third largest market in Latin America.
Yeah.
After Mexico and Brazil, and and ironically enough, like when they tried to legalize adult use, the reason why the law did not pass wasn't it was purely political. It was literally purely because the country 75% wants to legalize this.
Yeah. I just spoke with Juan Carlos about this, where it's like, now is the time. If Colombia is going to legalize adult use, now is the time from an administrative kind of standpoint.
Yeah.
Pendulum swing, this will be another 10 years of Colombia without legal adult use.
I'm a little scared that the pendulum already started swinging back.
Okay.
Because our current president doesn't have the power in Congress anymore. Like it was last year that he had it, and he, for stupid moves, I think it was, purely political. It's like the cannabis industry was used as a political bait.
Yeah. Has many topics and platforms.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So tell me, how did Plena start? You go from London, social clubs in Spain, you're back home in Colombia. Do you
Yeah.
have some friends that you started Plena with?
So when I was in Spain, we were working, and obviously, as I mentioned, Spain is very particular because it's huge cannabis culture, but it's not legal.
Right.
So there's always a gray area because there they have this, it's Spain has always been about personal freedoms. So they're like, look, if I'm an adult, you can smoke, period. So in Spain, they're allowed to cultivate every person 3 plants, which is the normal. Here in Colombia, it's a little exaggerated. 20.
20, right?
Yeah.
20 plants, 20 grams
Exactly.
on your person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is pretty huge. I mean,
That's a lot, man. Like, we'll
20
take that
plants?
in the States. Come on.
20 plants will feed me for 6 months,
Yeah. Yeah. Easily.
So yeah, it's crazy. But in Spain, it was these 3 plants. So in certain states, because it started in Catalonia, not in Madrid,
That's right.
it's Catalonia where it became bigger, where people saying like, okay, you've got 3 plants, I've got 3 plants, he has 3 plants, and so he'll go to his house and he'll take care of them, and we can smoke there. Those are the clubs.
That's how Casa Maria started, I feel like. I just met with their ownership and got to go tour Casa Maria. And
Yeah.
he was explaining, we did a podcast and a sit down, and he was explaining that he also had that similar journey. Social clubs in Spain, came back home to Colombia to provide that safe place to grow, to stay, to consume, to smoke
Exactly.
together. It's a safe zone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we obviously try to push for the governments to look at that model. You know what I mean? Because I think it's a beautiful model. It's supposed to be nonprofit, which is a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
But there's always ways but it's always a gray market.
Yeah.
So when in 2015 December, President Santos back then legalized,
Of Colombia?
yeah, I told Tony, the Israeli guy that I had met in Barcelona, I was like, dude, they legalized Colombia. I'm Colombian. I can,
Yeah.
I can navigate the country very easily.
Yeah.
I have connections.
Home turf.
Exactly. When we go open a real legal company, we stop looking ourselves or having on speed dial our lawyers.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, yeah, why not? We came down here and we started looking for it and applying, and we got the 4th license, still under the decree.
In the entire country,
yeah,
Plena
yeah.
had the 4th license.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
It was first one was Farmacielo, then it was the guys from Canalivio, but they were Kempideca.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoke with them.
And then Clevers,
Yep. Clever Leaves.
and then us.
Wow. It's incredible.
And then obviously with that, I met Gustavo, and it was, we sat down and we started like, hey, dude, that, we're both building this
Gustavo
company.
from Clever Leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were like, Mauro, I think we should open and organize an association because you know how it is in Colombia. And we founded a Socolcana back then.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was our idea.
Wow. And what was the mission of both that association, but also the mission behind Plena?
Well, for us, the mission has always been to produce high quality cannabis at low cost, high quality cannabis products at low cost.
Flower in particular, right?
But that came after.
Oh,
Because
okay.
you have to understand that back in 2016, when Santos took out the law, it was a law that he was like, I call it a very kumbaya law.
Okay.
Because why? He wanted to try to make Colombia stop being a raw material. Us third world countries, we're raw material producers. And he's like, oh no, but if we do the whole line that they have to extract it and they have to do the medications here, there's going to come investments of big labs. To make a lab is ridiculous amount of money.
Extremely
And
expensive.
these labs already exist in Europe.
Yeah.
Where it's the natural market, or in the state. Well, states no, because it's illegal in the state. I mean, state-wise not, but as a country, it's Europe our main. And it was, so they're not going to come here. And that was one of the main drivers for us to, when President Duque came on power, to start convincing him like you should let the export of flower. It took us 2016, 2020, 4 years.
4 years for flower to be able to be exported out of
Exactly.
Colombia.
Exactly. So all of us, we did our business plans for a vertically integrated company.
But you had to.
Yeah, exactly.
If extraction was first, you have to
Exactly.
create your own biomass to be
Exactly.
able to extract it. So by the time that happened, you were already set up as a completely vertical organization.
Yes, exactly. And it was hard because the type of investment that you need to do. So we're like, we return, but at the same time, I have been working with cannabis, since 2012. That was when I moved to Barcelona. So I'm kind of like an oldie. in
We
the
call that
industry.
OG.
The original gangster. Maybe. I like that. So yeah, but yeah. So I already kind of knew what we had to look for, and obviously I'm from Colombia, so I also knew that this idea that I'm going to go cultivate in the middle of the jungle is a bad idea.
I would say so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where a lot of companies did that. Went to remote places and cultivate. And they're like, what are you, a dealer?
Yeah.
So I said, like, first, you have to look at different variables. Colombia is geographically speaking, it's an amazing place to grow cannabis.
Oh, microclimates.
Exactly.
Soil.
Exactly.
Sun. You're right on the equator.
Exactly. The only thing that is hard for us is Colombia in general is, humid.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great point.
Unlike Peru, that, you get dry, which is amazing also to grow cannabis. But there you get a lot more seasons, differentiated seasons. Not here. So it's you play with
You have to.
Exactly. You choosing, some things are good, some things are not. Second, I consider Colombia's infrastructure. It's not the best. You know what I mean? This is a country that most of the roads are 2 lanes. We don't have a train system. So it's so I didn't want to go outside the cities. For obvious reasons. It becomes expensive. Yeah, logistically speaking, for when products are sold, goods are sold in the market, it is cheaper to bring a product from China to Barranquilla than from Barranquilla to Bogota.
No.
Yeah,
No.
it's crazy.
I'm gonna have to see the numbers on that. That
yeah.
is crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy.
Wow. And Barranquilla is
The North
more-
Coast.
North Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah. More close to
Atlantic.
Santa Marta.
Exactly. It's Santa Marta, Barranquilla, Cartagena.
Okay.
And and Barranquilla is like the main port.
But water,
Or Buenaventura, because it comes from China, it comes to Buenaventura, which is Pacific coast.
okay.
But still,
And that's cheaper than driving from Barranquilla down to Bogota with that same product.
yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy.
Can we change that?
If better highways and better so that or a train system or
Yeah.
because it takes a lot for truckers.
A freight train.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But truckers, they have to look at gas, so that becomes expensive, and now gasoline
Yeah.
is expensive, diesel,
Yep.
because subsidies are being taken away. So yeah, it's challenging.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do it. So I knew that I had to do it close to a city.
Okay.
And third, I was like, what city, Bogota? I mean, I'm sorry, this is where am I? We're gonna export. We have to be near El Dorado. So that was my first to start with, to look for a land. I said I want to be in the area around Bogota.
Yeah.
And me and Tony started putting weather stations around in like different lands that we kind of saw to buy,
Of course.
and started analyzing, behavior. Because one thing that we did understand is that when we came into the fields back then, cannabis at large scale literally was only produced in Canada. You know what I mean? So, and to be honest, it wasn't like that. Like the first hectares here already surpassed what is produced totally in Canada. So it was like, so they're like, okay, nobody has produced at this. And secondly, if we're gonna produce it in Bogota, it's 2,600 meters above sea level. So radiation levels, we had to test them. And so we kind of understood. So that's why we decided to invest initially from day one in a very high-tech greenhouse. We import, being Colombia, a flower producer, there's the regular Colombian greenhouses that you see around.
Hoop houses. I've seen a lot.
Exactly. Especially
Flying
around
in.
Bogota.
Yeah, we saw so many flying into Bogota from Mexico City.
Exactly. And so I said, no, we have to do high tech, because we have to make sure that at least in the beginning, we can guarantee that quality.
And that's what differentiates you.
Exactly.
You have
But it was-
such a high quality flower production.
Exactly. But it was funny because we set up our whole high tech greenhouse for biomass. You know what I mean? So the lamps were not as important there was just little,
Yeah.
the production was very easy. But we invested in the high tech greenhouse. It's like a Ferrari.
Absolutely.
It was a French Rochelle greenhouse.
Yeah. I'm sure Enzo would be proud.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, they did an article on us.
Really?
Yeah, because it was the only high tech greenhouse for cannabis in Latin America.
Wow. Okay. Oh, sorry, I was thinking Ferrari did an article. I mean,
No, yeah.
I was like, what?
No.
Well, of course, I'm sure you guys got an incredible amount of press.
Yeah, exactly.
In my own research, I have seen that Plena is absolutely the #1 most sophisticated high-tech greenhouse in Latam.
Yeah, and we've on purposely.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, we don't have huge amounts of news outside. Like
Yeah.
I on purposely don't like to get it out in the news, especially in the beginning, because I always say I come from PR.
Yeah. You come from the music industry.
exactly.
That
So
is PR.
Exactly. So I know when people try to sell you BS.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. The moment that I actually talk to the press is when I have a product, when I can show, when I can
Milestones.
prove. Exactly. But just to say that I have this idea, like a business plan. I mean, I did my business plan originally thinking that CBD isolate was $10,000. When I was able to produce it, it was 200.
Shush.
So my numbers were completely off.
What's the delta between a GMP, let's just say whatever you sell it in, a barrel or kilo, compared to non-GMP?
CBD isolates?
Yeah, or just really is there a benchmark?
There is, and it's huge. But
Really?
at the same time, you can't compete with the U.S. in isolate because they're hemp producers.
CBD specifically.
No,
Yeah.
only CBD.
Yeah.
Because of hemp.
Yeah.
We can't grow hemp, or we can, but it's not as good because we have 12 hours. They have that extended summer where actually the flower grows tall, and so I mean, unless we can have some breeders, work on a genetics that works off, a 6-month grow instead of then Colombia will become a powerhouse.
Yeah. In CBD and hemp.
In CBD and hemp.
But why do you need to be? I mean, if you have a cannabis facility, you can export cannabis flower.
At the beginning, we had to because, as you well know, CBD is kind of like a less scary entry for regulators and doctors because it's non-psychoactive. So they don't feel like, oh no, this is a safe thing. But I mean, after, and you see it with doctors dosing. They start with CBD because they feel safe. Then they realize like, oh, we do need the THC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's when we step in.
Okay. That makes sense.
So yeah, we were, and so we set up our whole farm. And then finally in 2020, Duque announced that the export of flower was going to be. So for us, it was very easy to pivot.
You're already set up for that. You already had the vision
Exactly.
of where it was heading.
Yeah, exactly.
Skate
Without
to where
knowing,
the
but
puck
yes.
is going.
Yes,
right?
yes, exactly. So I just had to tweak a few stuff, and I was already able to export premium flour or high quality flour.
Let's say I have a chain of pharmacies in wherever, Germany, and I want to buy flour and extract it in Germany. How do I do that?
From like Colombia?
Specifically from Plena.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, usually because in Germany, obviously they have the two options. They can buy flour for consumer
Uh-huh.
because they allow the consumption of smokable flour.
Yep.
But or you could buy it for extraction purposes. Biomass or the popcorn, what they call the popcorn,
Yeah.
we sell it also for extraction. Some people, I believe that in the future the market in popcorn is going to be the main one.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean,
From a price point standpoint?
price point, availability. Why? Because you grow these batches and you have to choose the flowers that are these beautiful thick buds
Yeah.
to literally look at them for 5 minutes because you're going to grind them.
Right. I could see that. That logic makes
California
sense.
right now is actually popcorn is very popular for that
Yeah.
because people are like, why am I going to buy a top-notch flower of the apical?
Right.
Um,
Pical?
Apical, the top one.
Ah, okay. That's the word for.
Yeah, in Spanish is the word for the top flowers.
Okay. Pical.
Apical with A.
Pical.
Yes.
Okay.
And first it's less production because you can only produce X amount of flowers.
Right.
And yeah, it's. I mean, I think it's right now. It's just the same thing that with right now the THC and content is the big driver.
Right.
Which honestly, it's I've consumed 15% THC with a beautiful terpene profile, and it's much better than a 25% THC.
Right.
You know
And
what I
everyone
mean?
has their own endocannabinoid system as well. Right.
Everybody's
that's-
tweaked differently.
That's where I want to see the future of this plant, right? Is something built 1-to-1-to-1
Yes.
directly to your endocannabinoid system.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a long way, I think. But
For sure.
yes.
But we should
yes.
get there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Something customized to you.
And now with AI available, why not?
Yeah. And you guys are, again, like cutting edge
We-
on flower and working with partners on the cutting edge of extraction.
Yeah.
You guys can get there as a collective market.
Yes, exactly. I mean, and I honestly believe that LATAM, specifically Colombia, has to become the powerhouse in
Yeah.
terms of production for cannabis.
Needs to be. Yeah.
Especially with THC.
And the only thing in the way right now is the government. Or no?
Yes, but no.
Okay.
There's also a thing with it's not only about Colombia; it's also about governments and quality standards outside.
Mm.
So then, because of the fact that you have to, our main driving markets, in the world are the European markets because they're the ones that import.
German being number one.
Germany being number one. Why? Because you have to understand, yes, California is the biggest market in the world. The U.S. is the biggest consumer market, but the U.S. is illegal.
Yep.
Period. Oh, no, but California, no, it's illegal.
Government problem.
It's illegal.
We need to legalize.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You take Canada, it's not a huge market, but it's a protected market. They don't import anything. So Canada's out of the question. So what's the other market? Europe and Australia.
Absolutely. And I see, Mauricio, the future of being able to grow in Colombia flour
Yeah.
at all different levels of quality and then export into the U.S. And now the U.S. can become more strategic.
Exactly. And also because the powerhouse, I think that the power that the U.S. has is branding and
Yeah.
because of
That's
the
our
consumer
global
market.
export.
Exactly.
Is our PR.
Exactly.
Right? Our
exactly.
culture. It's extremely strong. And I'd love to see American growers watch this episode and all of our content from this Colombia tour and find ways to bring their own brand, their genetics, etc., IP
Exactly.
to you.
Exactly. Why? Because we can cultivate at prices that could never compete with us.
Nope.
Never. I'm sorry.
No, economies of
We
scale
use-
and an
we use-
equator
exactly.
help a lot.
Use the sun. The sun is free. So yeah, it's when you get that, but at the same time, those are the quality standards that the health regulators, like in Europe, EMA, has as standards.
Yeah,
So in Germany to reach those standards, that's where it becomes hard.
right.
And also bureaucracy. To get an export license, and because you have to an expert certificate for each batch. It takes a month. So
For
you
a
have
batch?
yeah, it's
What's a batch? Break down that.
no. You can choose like the size of the batch, whatever you want, but it's what you send at the same time that it's the same kind of flour.
Okay.
So
You could have multiple batches in
in
a
one
container.
sending, yes,
Okay.
because yeah, maybe we have in our case, we have 20 kilos of carambola, 20 kilos of Antonia, and 20 kilos of BW. Those are our varieties. Um, and that's we have to get an export license for that, which in turn it has to match with the import license of the country.
Wow.
So
This is like the most certified market I've ever
no,
heard.
it's like and everybody says, oh, no, but we have
Over-certified.
over-certified and overwatched.
Yeah.
I depend on the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Justice, the Fondo Nacional de Estupefacientes, Ministry of Agriculture, ICA, Policía Antinarcóticos. Everybody's watching us.
Yeah.
And us, which I did it strategically. The reason why I chose also the land where we're at is because of the closeness to Bogota. And we're 50 kilometers. 50 kilometers doesn't mean the same that it means in the U.S.
Of course.
Here, you measure time spent in the car.
Yeah. A lot of
That's
traffic.
the distance. Yeah, it's a lot of traffic. So
Yeah.
so 50 kilometers for us is approximately an hour and a half to 2 hours. So that's but it's still close.
Yeah.
So the government, of course, we're like the most visited farm. It's like, but it's good for us because in this way we were able to train our team to be on top of things, to be
Yeah.
in documentation, and and that says a lot in a good QMS system.
100%.
You
And
know?
it's our vision in working to tell your story through this podcast. We're going to visit your facility as well, do an episode with you there.
Yeah.
It's our vision to film to the nth degree who you are and how you do what you do, so other governments around the world can use this and emulate Plena as a model.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, about 3 months ago or 4 months ago, Visa was here because Brazil started. They started testing the whole import of flour. Brazil doesn't allow cultivation.
From Colombia,
Yeah, from outside.
from outside.
Colombia obviously is the main driver because we're next door neighbors.
I've
You know what I
seen
mean?
those.
So yeah. So and they came down here and they actually did a visit to Plena and they were like wow.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because
We'll
again,
take 2 containers.
but no, and no, we were ready to export to Brazil back then. But then the government realized that they were also doing a lot of false importation, not false, but illegal imports from Paraguay. So Paraguay is a little bit crazy.
Okay.
It's like no man, like no law.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
Paraguay.
we were
yeah.
just invited to go out there to film.
Oh well, yeah, you should. It's crazy
Yeah.
because it's like, yeah, it's an interesting country.
More on that.
More on that. But yeah, so because of the fact that we're so close, the government visit us constantly. So we're basically very prepared, and our team. It's like I always say, we're still not in terms of certification, we might not be GMP, but we have to have a GMP lifestyle.
Right. Gosh, I love that. The culture of GMP.
Exactly, because it's a culture.
Absolutely.
It's to have that discipline to
Excellence.
exactly.
That's what I've seen so far
Exactly.
in our tour out here is a GMP culture of excellence.
Exactly.
Everything needs to be done, and it can't just be an SOP.
No.
Right? It needs to be in the DNA of the team.
Exactly. The team has to do it on the weekends in their house.
Yeah.
Act GMP.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's yeah. So the
GMP
fact.
lifestyle, I like that.
So yeah. So that's where we kind of started to differentiate from others. So back when President Duque legalized, we pivoted. Also, a good advantage for us is that Plan is a private company. We have not gone into the stock market or anything like
You're
that.
not on NASDAQ. You're not. Okay.
No, we're purely
100% private.
Yes, 100% private. Thank God.
Yeah.
Although it's very hard,
Absolutely.
especially that, as you might imagine, cannabis is not as attractive as it used to be, and especially now here in Colombia because
We're on the other side, and I think like going back up, right? It's a roller coaster.
yeah,
So-
and now with hopefully
Ojalá.
with declassification of the plant in the U.S. Will help us big time.
Decrim, declassification.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All
Because banks will
steps.
open.
Right.
And one of our biggest hurdles, in all this investment that we try to look, it's funny, but it's hard to get American investors because they can't, legally speaking, it's very hard for them to put money in cannabis because they would be, doing narcotráfico.
Yeah.
So imagine the moment that they're allowed, like, and that's where the
Flooding.
money is, in the U.S. And I think, as you just said, the U.S. is one of those markets that realizes price is extremely important.
Yeah. Well, I
So
don't
why grow here if we can grow in Colombia?
I don't know if I quite understood the price difference between GMP and non-GMP. Could you throw out just a high level 4x if I were to buy GMP flower versus non-GMP?
Yeah, of
It's
course.
4 times more expensive.
Yeah, a little bit less than 4 times, but yeah.
3x
Yeah,
for
it's
our
like,
audience.
let's say, talking about euros. Um, an EU GMP flower can be sold the gram between 3.8 to 4.5 grams.
Could be sold at what price point?
Like 3.5 a gram to 4.5.
Ah, okay. Okay.
GACP flower,
Is that Australia?
no, it's GACP is the agricultural standard.
Okay.
Instead of going, because it's just ridiculous how it is. But GACP, a GACP flower that is, that they can buy here in Colombia, but then they have to, in terms to get into the European market, they have to do extra steps. We can sell it between €1 to 1.8 euros a gram,
Okay.
which honestly, it's still great pricing for the production of Colombia.
Right.
That's where we're still competitive.
And logistically, how difficult is it to get plena flower out of Colombia into these other markets?
It's very hard because of the amount of steps that you have to do. So one of the big things is, again, this EU GMP flower, which I think is ridiculous because, GMP is a pharmaceutical standard. We're talking about a flower. It's a biological thing that it's obviously going to have variations constantly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Microorganisms live in these plants.
Yep.
And honestly, they haven't killed anybody in these years that everybody was smoking. So, but these European, have this very strict, it has to be EU GMP. So you can't do an agricultural product EU GMP. It's in what they call the post-harvest. So you start with a GACP flower. The whole process is GACP, good agricultural practices. When you cut the plant, that's when the GMP starts. And it's how you
Really?
handle the plant from cutting in terms of drying, processing, curing, trimming, and packaging. That's where you have to do it in EU GMP standards. So we were like, again, we had an advantage of that because of our high-tech greenhouse. I just had to build a drying room, which we did, an EU GMP drying room, basically, with a HVAC and everything. Everything all the post-harvest is as if you were EU GMP. But for the time being, I decided that I didn't want to do all the way to EU GMP.
Right.
Why? Because this, we've been investing a lot of money in this industry, and it takes a long time. So I would rather, build things step by step. I'm the kind of guy that I like solid things.
Yeah.
I don't like
Phases of
Yeah,
expansion.
exactly. An
Reinvest
organic-
profitability.
Exactly, because you don't know. Yeah, the demand is there, but regulations are not. Everybody talks about this cannabis, global market. What global market? I can export to the UK, Portugal, Germany, Australia, Israel, and that's it.
Those are the
That's
only
my
countries
for flower. Yes.
for flower.
Yeah.
4. There's
5
only 5 markets in the world
that we
that
can export.
plena can export flower to.
Yes.
Where would you like to see that in 10 years from now?
Obviously, all the Western world for sure.
10x that? You
Yeah.
want 50 markets
Yeah,
to be able to export
exactly.
flower into?
Yes.
And how does plena play into that global market?
In what sense?
In the sense of, are you only going to be growing in Colombia? Are you going to have a extraction facility in Australia? Like, what's your roadmap?
That's a good question. Again, because of the fact that of my focus of building things step by step, I see Plena. I want to see Plena become the largest and most important premium flower producer.
In the world.
Yes, yes. I want to do it in Colombia, for sure, because that's where I get the price point that I want to get, and this is a country. You have to understand that when governments do these regulations, the implementation part, and for you to get to that point takes time.
Yeah.
So when you tell me like, oh yeah, we're going to go into when it opens up into Mexico, yeah, it's 10 more years, man, before because it's not only about just building the site. You have to actually get the plant standardized.
Yep.
You have to understand that, for since we're working with medical markets, standardization is extremely important because
Everything.
exactly, because you have to kind of guarantee the customer or the patient that they're going to get the same products constantly, because that's what makes them feel better. That's their care. So that standardization, and when you go to Plana, you're going to see, for example, all of our rooms are a sea of green, perfect. It's
I've
beautiful.
only seen from the photos, and I am so excited to
Yeah,
go.
it's a beautiful. I have to say I'm extremely proud.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Yeah, and it's been a road like, yeah, I mean, yeah, like I never thought like that, when I was an 18-year-old toker,
Right?
I was gonna be doing this.
I never thought I'd be here.
Exactly.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
And it's just like we've been the same, but the market and the acceptance of the culture has been changing rapidly
Yes.
in our lifetime.
Yes. I mean, I grew up in the time of the illegal grower, and,
Yeah.
and stuff
The
like that.
underground movement,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And it's funny, but when they legalized, or when the market started to legalize, these, the title of master grower came along, which I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah.
But it's fine, they use it, and but to deal with these master growers, it's like that's where I thank God I worked in the music industry, because I can deal with egos.
Oh man.
Yeah, they're artists. These
Yeah.
master growers. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and because of the fact that they have their ways of doing things.
Yeah.
But to change them to no, now you have to do it this way with an SOP.
Yep.
And you can't just change a way of growing, because you have to redo the whole process, qualify the SOP. So to make them understand this type of mentality, or the type of way of working, that's the hardest part. Because from a person that grew in the basement or in some very lost farm, in the Emerald Triangle in California, it's very different
Yeah.
than
really
doing it
is.
in like a facility where government can come in every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going back to the vision of Plan Out, where we see each other, I definitely see us in Colombia. I want to see Colombia become the largest producer of THC.
Flower
Yes.
in the world.
Yes, because I mean, yeah, we have the greatest advantage, and I believe, if you take what they call the cannabis belt, which is basically the equator,
Mm-hmm.
and you look at the countries, LATAM is positioned extremely well because it's the most stable place.
We have going across the equator, call them out.
Yeah, Africa,
Africa.
it's Congo and all that, which it's unstable governments, not as promising, in that sense. Then you get Asia, where, man, yeah, you get Israel, all that, which they naturally they grow, but then you get Asia, like Singapore, South Korea, but the culture there is very different, much more conservative. So it's going to take longer,
Yeah.
Although South Korea has been moving faster, but they don't have landmass.
Would you say the Western Hemisphere is more pro cannabis than the Eastern
Oh
Hemisphere?
yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, Western society is much more open, much more liberal. Yeah, so yeah, and you see the laws that it's Australia is a different case, because Australia is like an embassy of the West in Asia.
Un primo.
El primo, el pariente.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I mean, you see the regulations are all in the West.
Yeah. In closing, Mauricio, thank you so much for your time today, by the way.
No, thank you. It was
In closing, what would you say to everyone out there in the world watching this that wants to do business with you? What would you say to them?
I mean, come to Colombia. We produce the most beautiful, high quality flower in a country where there's a culture of growing, in a country where there's a tradition of cannabis being produced. In the 1970s with our famous Sierra Gold.
Yep. Colombian
and-
Gold, Panama Red,
Exactly.
Mango Viche.
El mango, yeah, Corinto, Punto Rojo. So yeah, I mean, we have a strong culture. It's a country where we can produce all year long, And yeah, we're just ready to do business.
For everyone out there watching that wants to work with you, they can join Grow World for free. They can message you directly and get access to more information.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we were partnering up with different platforms, and yes, with Grow World, they can get access to us, for any commercial or any question that they have.
That's perfect.
Regarding, yeah.
Well, thank you for being part of our community, and we're excited to go visit your farm.
Excellent. Thank you for this time, and thank you for coming to Colombia to see what we've done here in the past. Well, how long has it been? 2016. So yeah, it's 6 years, 7 years.
Gracias por todo.
Gracias a ustedes.
Thank you so much for listening to the Grow World podcast. Don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram. Until next time.